How many games will the Green Bay Packers win in 2024? What's going on, Cheeseheads and Packers? As we said, Packers fans, it's your boy Mayo Jones here, back up with another NFL record prediction. And this time we'll be doing an NFL record prediction for the Green Bay Packers for a 2024 NFL season. Give me my thoughts, my game analysis to see which games I think the Packers will win and which games I think the Packers will lose. So, before I give you my record prediction, for the Packers for a 2024 NFL season, put the thumbs up to like the video, subscribe to my channel for more options, and comment down your opinion below to see how you feel about the Packers. Like, do you think they're going to make the playoffs this year? Do you think they're going to win the division? Do you think this is their chance they make the Super Bowl? Or you think they're going to slip up and take a step back and miss out on the playoffs? Let me know in the comments section below what you guys think. So basically, in Jordan Love's first season as a starting quarterback, the Packers, have definitely made the playoffs and won a playoff game, lost in the divisional round, and they didn't make the Super Bowl. Now the question is, could they at least make it to the back to the NFC Championship for the first time since 2020? But I believe that's the last time they made a NFC Championship was since like 2020 season. So we're gonna get started here. So week 1, they have to play against the Eagles in Brazil on a Friday, which this is going to be a fun game to watch. Both good, talented teams. Both got high-flying offense. Both defenses are kind of up and down, but this should be a good game to watch. I think it's probably going to be an offensive game, in my opinion, because the Eagles are very soft against the pass at times. The Packers are very soft against the pass at times, especially against the run. The Eagles are good at stopping the run. So maybe there's a chance I think the Packers can definitely give the Eagles issues. But I don't really know because when you look at Green Bay's offense, like their offense is pretty young and Eagles have a young offense, but I don't think it's younger than the Packers. So basically, this game right here is going to be very close, though, and I believe Keyshawn Nixon say that he's excited for the game, which he's going to be ready for that game in Brazil. So I think the game will be very close and competitive, but I can see Green Bay winning this game. But I'm rolling towards Philly because I think Philly is just the superior team in this game, and I just think the Eagles, I think, the Eagles do match up well with the Packers really good because the Eagles, they have, the weapons on offense to move the ball against Green Bay. I think they'll win their one-on-one matchups despite a good secondary in Green Bay. I think, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, they can really attack you and all that. And they got Saquon Barkley in the backfield. I think the Eagles can run the ball on them, and I think the Eagles can block the Packers. So, yeah, I think they can. And their defensive line is very strong. I think they can get after Jordan Love. And I think their secondary can play some coverage. Like, they'll, find a way to at least be sticky against a young receiving corps in Green Bay. And, I think the Eagles' offense can win this game. I think they're going to find a way to control the game and keep Jordan Love on the sidelines and all that. So, I think the Eagles find a way to win that game at home. But your Eagles is planning on it's a home game in Philly, but it's not in Philly's in Brazil. So, I think the Eagles win that game. Then week 2 against the Colts, I think they bounce back and beat the Colts. I'm not sure about Anthony Richardson, what he's going to look like. He's going to be rusty coming off an injury. Now, the Colts do got some pieces. They got a really good offensive line. They have a good running game with Jonathan Taylor. They got other weapons, too, like Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, A.D. Mitchell, Jelani Woods, those guys. And, they got a strong defensive line. Their defensive line is pretty good, but their secondary is kind of weak. And, I just think Jordan Love can have enough time, and I think he can take advantage of that. Especially, even though he doesn't have a lot of good weapons around him, I think Jordan Love can take advantage of that. Because, they do have young receivers, too, that can do that, too. Like Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks. and all that. I think those guys are gonna like go. It's gonna be too much for the Colts secondary to handle because I don't see how the Colts are gonna be able to cover the Packers. So yeah, especially I think Green Bay has a better defense that can really get after. Their pass rush can really get after Anthony Richardson. I think they'll go do a good job stopping their running game, and their secondary is pretty strong, which I think they can play some tight coverage like Jair on Michael Pittman, and so yeah, that's a good matchup. So basically, I think the Packers find a way to win that game at home. Week 3 against the Tennessee Titans. This is another game that can go either way. I could see Tennessee winning this game because Tennessee pretty much did have an improved roster. Their secondary is pretty strong now. Their defensive line is still the same. The old line did improve a little bit, but the receiving weapons did get revamped. They got like DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, and they got Tony Pollard in the backfield. They got some weapons that can really attack, they got some weapons that can really attack, that attack the Packers secondary. Now I kind of remember that the Titans did beat the Packers before at home, and I believe they did beat them in Lambeau like 2 years ago, I believe. But I think this game can go either way. I think it will be close and it will be fun to watch. I know it's in Tennessee, but I'm leaning towards Green Bay because I think Green Bay is just a better overall team. They got the more proven quarterback. They have the better coaching staff. I think this is a Matt LaFleur revenge game. I think they're the better team overall, and I wouldn't trust a young quarterback against a proven quarterback. So yeah, I think the Packers defense is just gonna give the Titans offense issues and Will Levis issues. Like they got pass rush get out to Will Levis. They have the secondary to cover the Titans receivers. So yeah, I like Green Bay in that game. Week 4 against Minnesota Vikings. I think they beat the Vikings at home because, I feel like Green Bay's a better team overall. I think they got the better quarterback in my opinion. And I think they have a better coaching staff in this game. And Vikings, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. If it's going to be JJ McCarthy or it's going to be Sam Darnold. I don't know. I wouldn't trust a rookie on the road against a proven quarterback in Green Bay. So yeah, I mean the Vikings, did beat the Packers once before. So yeah, I mean the Vikings got some multiple weapons on offense like Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hockenson, Jordan Addison. They also got Aaron Jones in the backfield. And they pretty much have a legit they got a good offensive line. Their defense is totally pretty good under Brian Flores, but the secondary is pretty weak. I don't think the Vikings are going to be good this year. So that's why, and I think Green Bay is a better team overall. So I think Green Bay will win that game at home. Week 5 against the LA Rams. This is going to be an interesting game. I feel like it can go either way. I can see Green Bay winning this game because Green Bay pretty much has owned the Rams. I mean, they pretty much have owned the Rams, like back in the past. I think the last time the Rams had beaten the Packers was since like 2018. So yeah, 2018 the Rams beat the Packers, and then the Packers did beat the Rams in the playoffs, and they beat them in the regular season multiple times. I mean, this game's not in Lambeau, but when it was in Lambeau last year, and Green Bay really did beat the Rams by a lot. But the game is in LA and it could be different. So I'm gonna lean towards the Rams because I think the Rams with Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur, I think they both got some coaching familiar from I feel like, they got some I feel like the Rams, both these two teams got a really good scheme on offense. Like Matt LaFleur and, Sean McVay are familiar with each other. And I just think, the Rams are gonna be a good team. Okay, so basically, I think the Rams can beat the Packers because the Rams got some weapons on offense that can really attack you. Like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. I feel like the Rams can win their one-on-one matches against the Packers defense. I think they can do enough to control the game, keep Jordan Love on the sidelines. So yeah, I mean their offensive line is very improved. Defensively, I don't think they're great as the Packers, but they got some young players who can play. And their secondary did improve, by adding Tre'Davious White, Cameron Curl, and also Darius Williams. So I think, their secondary can at least get sticky against an unwhelming receiving core of the Packers, like their young receiving core. So basically, I think the Rams can move the ball on Green Bay. So yeah, but I feel like, and especially LA is kind of a tough place to play at, and where LA is kind of a dome team. So that's pretty much why I think the Rams are going to beat the Packers. Then week 6 against the Cardinals, I think they'll beat the Cardinals at home. I mean, Kyler Murray could be a challenge because, he's a road runner. And, their offensive line is pretty strong. They got some weapons on offense that can attack you, like Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride. They got other weapons like Greg Dortch and Michael Wilson and Zay Jones. They got multiple weapons on offense that can really give, that can really give, the Packers defense some issues. But the Cardinals defense is kind of sketchy. And I think Green Bay can move the ball on them. And Jordan Love's going to have time. And I think he can take advantage of a Cardinals defense that's very bad. So yeah, especially the Packers got the more talented defense, which I think their secondary can man up against, the receivers of the Cardinals. And their defensive line can get after Kyler Murray. So, yeah, especially the Packers are just a better team overall. They're at home. They got the better coaching staff, and they got the better quarterback, in my opinion, Jordan Love. So that's why I think Green Bay will win that game. Week 7 against the Houston Texans. This is going to be an awesome game. This is a game that can go either way. Obviously, I could see Houston winning this game because it's in Houston. Because, the Texans got multiple weapons on offense that can really give the Packers defense some problems. Like, you know, they Stephon Diggs, Tank, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, and they got Joe Mixon in the backfield. I mean, that's a really good, talented offense, and their offensive line is pretty good. Their defensive line did improve by adding Denico Autry and Danielle Hunter along with Will Anderson, who was Defensive Rookie of the Year. Their secondary is pretty talented. So yeah, so I think this game right here is gonna be fun to watch. If this game was in Houston, I could take the Texans, but I'm going with Green Bay to win this game because I think Green Bay, the Texans are coming to town, and I feel like Jordan Love is going to have a good game. I think they're going to do a good job, control the game, keeping CJ Stroud on the sidelines. And offensively, I think they can move the ball in Houston, and I think Houston's secondary is kind of average in my opinion. So I think Green Bay can maybe I feel like Love can take advantage of it. So yeah, I think he can, and they have a good defense, better defense than the Texans, in my opinion, which I think they can get after C.J. Stroud. They have the corners to cover against the Texans receivers. So yeah, so I think the Packers, win this game closely at home. So yeah, next game week 8 against the Jaguars. Obviously, I got Jacksonville winning this game because I think Jacksonville, I just think Jacksonville, Jacksonville is a tough place to play at. And especially, Jacksonville is a pretty sneaky good team. They got a really good wide receiving group in Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis, Evan Ingram, and also Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne in the backfield. They got multiple good weapons, but their offensive line is kind of skeptical. They're kind of like average, but I don't think it's great. Maybe Green Bay's defensive line can take advantage of that. And the Jags defense is pretty good. They improved their defensive line. Their secondary is pretty good. This can be the Darnell Savage revenge game because Darnell Savage, was a Packer. So I think Jacksonville can definitely give the Packers, Jags defense and give the Packers, offense some issues. And especially they can give the Packers defense some issues. where Green Bay's, they're kind of weak against the pass and weak against the run. I think Jacksonville can move the ball on them. And I think they'll do enough to control the game, keeping Love on the sidelines. So, yeah. But if this game was in Green Bay, I'm probably going to, take the Packers. But the game's in Jacksonville, so I'm taking Jacksonville at home. All right, next game, week 9, they got to play against the Lions. Obviously, I think they'll beat the Lions at home because Green Bay, typically owns the Lions. And, I feel like, Jordan Love, has definitely had a good game, against the Lions last year. Because I can tell, last year on Thanksgiving, Jordan Love kind of made some big time throws. He had a really good game here. The offense got it going. So, yeah. I think, no Green Bay can do that. And, the Lions, they're going to be a good team this year. So, yeah. Both these two teams will have more to play for anyway because they're going to be fighting for the playoffs, and Green Bay is going to be fighting for the playoffs too. So that's why I think Green Bay wins that game. Then they get a bye week 10, and after the bye week, they're going to have a week to prepare, and they got to play against the Bears week 11. This is going to be a very interesting game. This can go either way. I could definitely see Green Bay winning that game as they attend, they own, the Bears. But I'm going to take the Bears to win this game because it is in Chicago and it's kind of a tough place to play where it could be windy there and it could be snow. And I think the Bears, will beat the Packers once this year because I feel like they're probably going to be a team that's probably going to make the playoffs this year. They got some good weapons like Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet. And also they got DeAndre Swift in the backfield. Offensive line solid. Defensively is really good, especially in the secondary. I think their defense can win them this game. I think, their secondary can get sticky against an underwhelming receiving core. Against a young receiving core in Green Bay. And I think their pass rush, led by Montez Sweat, can definitely get after Jordan Love in that game. So, yeah. So, I like the Bears to win at home. Then week 12 against, the San Francisco 49ers. This is definitely a game that can definitely go either way. But obviously, I could see the Niners winning this game because I think the Niners are a better team because the Niners, kind of own the Packers a little bit. But I'm going to go with Green Bay in the upset. I just feel like Green Bay, at home, is pretty tough. And I just have a feeling that Green Bay, I kind of feel like from the playoff, they played the Niners pretty close. I think their offense can move the ball on them, and especially their defense matches up well with the Niners. They have a great secondary that can man up against Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. They, have, the pass rush to get after Brock Purdy. But the thing that scares me about Brock Purdy that, he tends to struggle in weather where it could be wind, rain, where that type of weather is. But I feel like the Niners are a better team from a talent standpoint, but I feel like Green Bay can get the job done with their offense, moving the ball, controlling the game, keep Purdy on the sidelines. So, yeah, I like Green Bay to win that game at home. The next game against the Dolphins on Thursday, this is on a short week. I think they beat that's a game I think Miami can win because Miami has multiple weapons on offense that can really give the Packers defense some problems like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, OBJ, Jonathan Smith. They got Raheem Morris and Devon H in the back end. But I think if the game is in Miami, I can definitely go towards the Dolphins. But I'm going with the Packers here at home because the Packers are at home, and I think they're a better team overall. And, they got the better, coaching staff. And I feel like, Green Bay, I feel like the Dolphins will take a step back this year because they don't have a lot of pieces on defense. They lost some pieces on defense. I think that can allow Green Bay to have success running the ball and controlling the game, keeping Tua on the sidelines. And I think, the defense, of Green Bay is pretty much better than the Dolphins. I think they can get after Tua, and their secondary can really man up against the Dolphins receivers. because I kind of remember that game on Christmas Day from 2 years ago where the Packers did beat the Dolphins in Lambeau, and that's when their defense won them the game. I think Green Bay can do it with their defense. So yeah, I like Green Bay to win that game at home. But it will be a shootout, and it kind of will be closer than we expected. Next game against Detroit Lions. Obviously, I think they'll split the Lions, so I give the Lions the win here because it's in home in Ford Field, and the Lions kind of got the home field advantage. And the Lions are probably going to be looking to win the division this year, as I predicted the Lions to go first place in the division. And the Lions are kind of like a better team overall. I think Jared Goff is the better quarterback than Jordan Love. So, yeah, I think the Lions, can win that game at home. Next game against the Seahawks in Seattle. This is going to be a fun game to watch, but I'm going to lean towards Seattle to win this game because the Seahawks are at home, and where Seattle's kind of a tough place to play at. And, Seattle has a really good team. Like, they got a new coach in Mike McDonald. They're offensive. They got some talent on offense, like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson and Jigaba, Kenneth Walker in the backfield. Offensive line is kind of it's not great, but the defense is pretty good, especially in the secondary. They got good corners. I think they can really man up against a young receiving core in Green Bay. And I think defensively and the defensive end, I think, they can get after Jordan Love. And I think their receivers, can win their one-on-one matches against the Packers secondary. So I think Seattle can control the game, keeping Jordan Love on the sidelines. So I think Seattle wins that game. Next game, they got to play against the Saints on Monday night. I think now this game last year, I believe the Saints did beat the Packers. I think the Packers, they actually barely beat the Saints by 1 point last year. That's when Green Bay came back on the map of being down by a lot. But I got the Packers win this game because they're at home, better coaching staff, they're the more complete team. I think Jordan Love's the better quarterback than Derek Carr. I mean, I don't think Derek Carr is good enough. Offensive line is very weak. Defensively, they're pretty good, but I don't think they're great. I mean, I don't think their coach is good, but he's kind of good as a coordinator. I don't like their coach, but I like him as a coordinator, but I don't think their coach is really good. So I think Green Bay has the better coaching staff. They're a more complete team and all that. And I think their defense is just going to give the Saints offense issue. Like, they have the pass rush to get after Derek Carr, and they have the secondary to man against the Saints receivers. Like, the Saints do have weapons that can attack you, but the offense, sometimes struggles to get it going. And I think Green Bay finds a way to win that game. I think they can win by a lot. Next game, they play against the Vikings. I think they lose this game. I'm saying the Vikings will split with the Packers because usually every year the Vikings just play the Packers pretty tough. So, yeah. And I think, the Vikings defense with Brian Flores, I think he'll find a way to at least make life difficult on Jordan Love, get the Packers offense issues. So yeah, I think the Vikings will win this game at home, especially Minnesota is kind of a tough place to play at. So yeah. Next game and then last game against the Chicago Bears. I think they'll split the Bears and beat the Bears at home because Green Bay tends to own the Bears. Green Bay's a better team overall. I think they got the better quarterback. And they got better coaching, and they're the more complete team. So, yeah, that's pretty much why. So, basically, I got the Green Bay Packers finishing 10-7. 3-3 in the division, 6-6 in the conference, 9-0 at home, 1-7 away. I mean, not pretty bad. I mean, when you look at the Packers' schedule, they have to play – this pretty tough because they have to play, a very good underrated division like the AFC South, like the Colts, the Titans, the Texans, and the Jags. They got to play another good division that's very competitive. Like, they got to play, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Niners, and the Seahawks. They play the Lions twice. They play the Bears twice. They play the Dolphins. They even kind of – so, yeah, I mean, this is kind of a hard schedule for Green Bay. So, I feel like 10-7, 11-6 sounds about right for Green Bay. And I think 10-7 should be good enough to make the playoffs. So I believe Green Bay will be back in the playoffs once again. I feel like Jordan Love is the guy. I feel like some of their young weapons on offense can take a step forward and take a leap, like Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, and Romeo Dobbs. Their offensive line is still the same, but they just lost David Bakhtiari. The defense is still the same, despite them losing DeAndre Campbell and then, and Darnell Savage. And they also added McKinney as well to replace him. And, they lost Aaron Jones, but Josh Jacobs was a good replacement. So I believe their running game will still be the same. So I think depending on how well the Packers do, I think they'll find a way to at least make it to the postseason again. So I think they'll go somewhere from 10 to 11 wins, and then maybe 9 at worst, and then maybe 12 to 13 at best. So that's how I see it for the Packers. It's 10-7, and I got them going second in their division. So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. It's Emmanuel Jones from Big Fan. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later in the next video. Peace.